Scott Pruitt is the Attorney General, and I think what kind of started me looking into some of this was it came out, I think a month or two ago that his budget for his office was running over, basically, and a lot of people were questioning, like, hey, why are you spending so much money, especially in a time where people are cutting their budgets? I think just because revenues weren't doing so well, and that's not even counting oil dropping off a cliff, which I think we're going to talk about. We'll kind of weave that into what we're talking about too. So he gets, I think, an X amount of dollars every year for his budget, and that's just stuff he uses to do lawsuits, file cases, evidence fund, salaries
to pursue justice.
To pursue
on behalf
justice.
of the state.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's his job. That's what he's elected for. And I think he, when he was elected, he ran unopposed.
Yeah, I think he did.
He wasn't even. There wasn't even a contest.
Is that good, baby?
Here's the job. I guess so. I mean, some people, he is Republican, so I'm going to throw that out there. So I mean, I guess some people, if you're definitely against that type of thing, then you might hate his guts. But I think what got a lot of people was the fact that he gets X amount of dollars, which...
How much does he get?
I think he's allotted at least $14 million, and that goes out to...
I'm assuming that's annually.
Yes.
Okay.
That goes out to people for like, domestic violence funds and just different things around the state that deal with stuff like that.
Okay.
It's not just domestic violence. I probably should know a little more about exactly where it goes, but basically he's over budget. Like he's allotted somewhere a little over $14 million. He was already over budget at I think $28 million, which was over budget.
Holy shit!
Well, that's just the start. Then after that, I think he went up to 48.6. Yeah, so that's why people were kind of like, "What the hell?" Like,
what's he doing? Like, has he accounted for this money publicly?
Well, when people asked him, about it, he basically said that, I get X amount of dollars to divvy out these funds to different agencies across the state, and plus he uses some of it, and that was basically it. He also said that, and this I don't know if he said this personally. This is his office saying this, that he's expanding paying for lawsuits against the federal government because Obama's the ultimate dictator, and I don't know how to, that's basically how it sounded. Like, he's overreaching.
He's expanding lawsuits, like payouts.
Well, he has a bunch of lawsuits against the federal government, and we've got that one going against.
Oh, okay, so this
Colorado.
Is money, so this is money to pursue those.
Yes, and that's where like some people are like, is that the best use of that much money? Like, well, yeah, I think what a lot of it happened is the Attorney General's office was located in Oklahoma City, I believe, and then he moved it to Tulsa, where he's from. Or maybe opened another office. I don't know if he moved the whole
or something.
Yeah, he opened a big office there, and I think he said
money.
I think he said over half of the extra money that he's spending is just going towards salaries. More lawyers to,
of course,
fight Colorado, and that's a whole thing to talk about. Like,
what are we fighting Colorado over?
Well, we've joined a lawsuit with Nebraska.
So us in the
and we're suing Colorado because they voted to make marijuana legal.
What do we care?
And we're saying that it's making it's making life bad for us Oklahomans here because we're next door and they can just bring that stuff over and they need to be.
Well, they could do that before.
I know, but now the state of Colorado is like sanctioning it because they made it legal.
Huh.
So we're saying they need to comply by federal rules. Because we're all in this together, baby. As far as the states go,
except for us suing the federal government on the other side of things.
Well, that's for other things. That's for like
Sure.
I don't know, Obamacare. I guess it might be one of them.
Yeah.
God, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's all sorts of. Basically, a lot of it turns out to be, I'm Republican and I don't like the Democratic president. That's my opinion. I mean, I don't because I don't ever see anything come out of it. These lawsuits don't ever really go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure once in a blue moon they do, but yeah, you're probably right.
And so, I mean, like, so that, I guess that might be one reason, like, especially people are like, well, why do you got to spend so many more millions of dollars?
Yeah, that's a shit ton of money. I mean, if he was over budget a little bit, I mean, I'd be like, I mean, you know, hey, shit happens, but if you have a $14 million budget and you're up in the $48 million range, I mean, you've quadrupled your budget.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into he's not wanting to. The state auditor of Oklahoma, which is Gary Jones, his office is wanting to audit the Attorney General's office, which he's an elected official too.
Sounds like his job.
Yeah, that's his job, and I guess I kind of tried to like look around and see like why is he specifically wanting to audit the Attorney General? Because was it just because this over budget issue? Was it just because of that, or was this some?
I mean, it seems like a good
obviously
enough reason.
Yeah, or was there some obviously shady shit going on, and somebody was like, "Hey, we need to look into it." Sometimes I've seen some things where like Mary Fallon saw something about this department and she was kind of curious about it. She can order the state auditor to go
and check it out.
Like, hey, check this out. The only thing I could really see like what the deal was, is, at least from Gary Jones's point of view or his office's point of view, was how should I put this? He gets allotted money too to run the state audits. That costs money.
Sure.
And I guess he asked. I don't know if he asked for more money, or I think he was getting limited or cut on his budget,
while the AG's getting just a pipeline of
way
money.
more money than he even requested,
sure.
or his office requested to do X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
So I don't know if he made the call solely on himself. It sounds like he did, or his office did. So he's basically saying, "Hey, we're going to audit the
AG.
their Attorney General's office."
Okay.
So that happens. Attorney General's office, Scott Pruitt's office, sends him a email or letter or whatever a statement, and says, hey, we heard you were going to do that. By the way, we're actually going to hire our own independent auditor, so you don't even have to bother with doing like, hey, we just saved you a whole lot of trouble, which that costs money too.
Yeah,
he's got to
he's got to pay that guy.
He's got to pay the independent auditor, whoever that is.
He's not going to do it for free, or whoever.
Exactly. So that's more money right there. So if you're like wondering about that, and plus, this would make a lot more sense if it was just sometimes the state auditors, maybe an opposite party. Maybe he's a Democrat and the Attorney General's a Republican.
Guys both Republicans?
They're both Republicans. So I think a lot of it, the statement Gary Jones made was, he's not having enough money to do his job. His job is to do these types of things, and him asking for more money to do more auditing was seen as big government.
Who
just from, I think, maybe the governor,
the
or
auditor?
Just like they were concerned, like, oh well, that's just big government at work. You don't need to look into this stuff. That's a government overreach. And he's like, no, I'm actually the office that you would hope, gives some transparency to
all these other
departments in the government, because I don't know, it's our freaking job.
He's the oversight department of their money.
You would hope. I mean,
that's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, there was a scandal, I think, with the previous state auditor. I don't know his name, but I just kind of saw, like, this was like 4 or 5, maybe plus years ago, where they were doing some shady stuff. So it's not out of the realm of possibility of the state auditor himself being corrupt.
Sure.
And
but if nothing else, I mean, if nothing else, he's drawing a lot of attention to it.
Yes.
So you would think that at least his intention is above board.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it is, because I'm sorry, if I were the state auditor, I think I would say a department that has basically quadrupled its budget, and at the same time, while it's been allowed to do that, all these other departments are experiencing shortfalls. I think
they're asking 3% budget cuts, and I think that was before.
Yeah, I think
oil's gone so much to shit here lately, which we're going to talk about.
Which I think that sounds like the auditor is doing what he should be doing.
It just seems kind of weird, especially because.
I mean, the question is, what has gone on in Oklahoma that would justify such a massive expansion of the Attorney General, his function, his department?
Well, I mean, that's why I go back to like what Scott Pruitt's office said. They needed the money to expand for all these lawsuits. That was basically it. And a lot of people were
Jesus,
like,
how
okay,
many lawsuits do we fucking have?
well,
now?
that and it's like, what, should it cost that much?
Well, yeah.
Or even if it does cost that much,
ask a lawyer.
yeah,
Yes,
true, yeah, yes, it does cost that much. Yeah, look at the bill, baby. Yeah, I know, but it's like, at the very least, it's like, is that the best use of that much money? And, you know, because we can debate, philosophical points of view on these lawsuits on every issue, whether it's the marijuana issue or, we don't like the federal government and, we're just going to make our case on that type of thing.
Sure. I mean, all things aside, I'm a big proponent of a small, like, I'm not a huge fan of like a very strong, like, or, I don't want to say strong. Strong's the wrong word. I'm not a big fan of a far-reaching federal government. However, I also don't have a problem with legalized marijuana. So that's part and parcel, really.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, a lot of people in the state do.
I don't partake in it, and I don't intend to partake in it.
Yeah.
There might have been a certain point in time where things might have been a little different, but as far as like, it seems to me that, I mean, on the face of it, it seems pretty obvious that the Attorney General has got some explaining to do.
Well, and it just kind of seems shady too, when you're like, "Hey, by the way, we're
going to get our own third party." It'd be like,
and then on top of that, like, that happens. They kind of get into a back and forth a little bit, which is what they're going through right now. And his office, Scott Pruitt's office, kind of goes out and says, like, "Well, we're concerned because Gary Jones has made some, comments to the media or on social media, basically saying that, hey, I think it's my job to go after this at the very least." Yep. And it just seems kind of weird that like you go out of your way to kind of attack him a little bit.
Yeah,
it's like just shut up. If you're smart, Scott Pruitt, and you are doing something shady, like I wouldn't keep blowing this up. You know?
I mean, I've always kind of been like, it's always struck me as strange. Like if the way that these people which I mean, I think it's part of the reason why a lot of people just don't trust politicians, because if I were Scott Pruitt and everything I was doing, I felt, I think everything I've done, there's good reason to do it. I've made, earmarks for everything that I've done. Yes, my books are open to you. Come take a look at it. Let me show you exactly why I've done what I've done.
Yeah.
And I think, as much as he probably expects to be respected as the Attorney General, I think you got to respect the auditor as well. The auditor's job is to do what the hell he's doing.
They're both elected officials.
Exactly. So, I don't know. That seems so ridiculous to me that the budget would expand that much. But I don't know. So what's the latest word on it? Is it just kind of
that's basically kind of where it's at? Yeah,
okay,
I mean that's pretty recent.
So is the auditor? Is he going ahead and actually going to audit this guy? Like,
he says he is. So I'm like, he's like,
did he give any kind of timetable on like?
No. I mean that just happened.
Okay,
so I mean this just happening being within the last
week or so,
week or 2 month, give or take.
Well, knowing the way the government, bureaucracy at work, so it'll probably...
Yeah, I mean, 2 years from now, that we'll find out, actually, somebody did something wrong, and, oh, gee, his term already ran out.
Tune back in for episode 300, where we get to the bottom of this.